time now for our press review. I'm joined by Florence Villeminot. Lots of focus flow on the US, where President Donald Trump is reportedly seething over the latest developments in the FBI's Russia probe.
Indeed, the Washington Post reports about the moment when the U.S. president found out that Special Counsel Robert Mueller was charging 3 of his 2016 campaign advisors. You can see the article here. Apparently, President Trump woke up before dawn on Monday to wait for the Russian bombshell he knew was coming. Separated from most of his West Wing staff, Trump clicked on the television and spent the morning fuming. Apparently, no one really wanted to run into President Trump. According to the Washington Post, his anger was visible to those who interacted with him. As for the mood in the White House, according to the Washington Post, it was quite bleak. It quotes one senior Republican, "The walls are closing in. Everyone is freaking out."
So as you say, Flo, clearly an unhappy President Donald Trump. Conservative papers, though, have been trying to play down, if you will, the significance of all of this.
Indeed. Let's go from the Washington Post to the Washington Times, which is a conservative paper, very much a pro-Trump paper. They're channeling Shakespeare today and playing it down. You can see they're talking about a lot of noisy ado about nothing much yet. So far, Mueller has only proved that nobody's perfect, according to the Washington Times, and some people are more imperfect than others, so that's a different way of looking at it. As for the question of whether this is a smoking gun on the fact that the Trump campaign wanted dirt on Hillary Clinton from the Russians, according to the Washington Times, if it is a smoking gun, it's a very small caliber gun, and so far we've seen no smoke.
All right, well, let's stay with the US papers. The New York Times is reporting about a former FBI agent who's wanting to reopen a cold case from way back in World War II.
This is an interesting question. You can read about it in the New York Times. So who betrayed Anne Frank? That's what this retired FBI agent Vince Pankoki wants to find out. 75 years later, he's leading a team of experts who are hoping that modern forensic science and criminology will help solve this mystery. Now, as to why he's reopening this cold case, he says he wants to reawaken people's awareness in the Holocaust. Of course, a lot of time has gone by, and it seems like younger generations aren't paying so much attention to it.
Well, Anne Frank shot to the spotlight recently after this month. She was at the heart of an anti-Semitic incident at a football match in Italy.
And meanwhile, in Germany, the national rail provider, the Deutsche Bahn, has drawn criticism after it wants to name one of its high-speed trains. So this is the ICE train. It wants to name this train after Anne Frank. You can read about it here in the German papers. Now, the Amsterdam-based Anne Frank Foundation has reacted to this news with a lot of criticism, saying that it causes new pain to those who experienced deportations. You can read more about it in Der Western as well, another German paper. The Anne Frank Foundation said that that combination of Anne Frank and trains conjures up, the image of persecution of Jews and deportation. So it's a very curious choice for the national rail provider. You can see Der Western here talking about how it's an unnecessary storm created by the train company.
Right, let's go from one storm to another. The US actor Kevin Spacey is at the heart of a media storm amid allegations that he made a sexual advance towards a male child actor back in 1986.
There's been a lot of attention on how Spacey reacted to this. He took to Twitter saying that he had no memory of that incident, but he apologized if he had indeed behaved that way. Now, in the same message, he came out of the closet as a gay man, and you can read about it here in The New Yorker. He's drawing criticism for doing both at the same time, for apologizing and coming out. And there's a lot of criticism, particularly in the gay community. I pulled out just a couple of tweets. For instance, you have the lesbian comedian Wanda Sykes, who says, "No, you do not get to choose to hide under the rainbow." So some people saying that he's hiding behind coming out of the closet to avoid these allegations of sexual harassment. Others are actually saying that he's implying that making passes at underage men is something that gay men do. You can see that Rosie O'Donnell was also really upset about this. I actually blurred her tweet because it was quite explicit here. She says, "You don't remember the incident 30 years ago. You're essentially just like Harvey Weinstein. We knew all about you." And Rosie O'Donnell says that she hopes that more men will come forward.
OK, so storm certainly brewing for Kevin Spacey there. All right, Flo, on a lighter note, it's Halloween. What to wear?
Well, you might be tempted to draw some inspiration from current events. Well, there's an article in The Telegraph, the British paper, that tells you not to draw inspiration from some people. You can see some photos here. This is actually an article from a couple of days ago, but I find it's quite useful today. It talks about 8 sexist and inappropriate Halloween costumes to avoid in 2017. Now, it might not be that surprising, but the number one person on that list is Harvey Weinstein. Close second is Hugh Hefner. And a close third, and this might be surprising, is actually Anne Frank. Now, this might sound crazy, but HalloweenCostumes.com, which is a popular website where you can buy Halloween costumes, actually had to pull a costume that depicted the young Holocaust victim. You can see their costume in this photo here. A lot of people said it was inappropriate, offensive, so they pulled the suit. Might be better just to stick to the good old traditional ghost costume or vampire.
That's what I was going to say. None of these are particularly scary. What happened to the ghost and the ghouls? All right, well, moving on to a less controversial topic, the Parisien has a special report on what's happening on the street and in particular in the gutter.
This is a fascinating article, and I definitely recommend reading it. The Parisien says that the aquatic life that is in the gutters of Paris is actually incredibly rich. Now, it's no Great Barrier Reef, but it's pretty spectacular. Researchers from the National Scientific Research Center have made an inventory of nearly 7,000 species of microorganisms that are just under your feet. Now, this is much more than just a nerdy scientific fact. Scientists say there's actually a lot of hope that these microorganisms could help fight against pollution. For instance, some of the algae they found can actually capture carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. So that's why you can see here Le Parisien is wondering if the gutters, les caniveaux, could be the future, the green lung of Paris.
There could be some good news about Paris gutters. Good to know. Thank you very much, Flo, for the roundup of the papers there. Don't forget, for our viewers, if you do want to see more, you can always log on to our website at france24.com.